Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatiruttamaśloke Bhaktirbhavati Naistiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 23, Devahūti's Lamentation. So, Devahūti, uh, the way personality she is, she requested her husband that yes, she is interested in the spiritual knowledge, but after having children. And you please make necessary arrangements, make me uh, beautiful, because she has been reduced very, very skinny because of her extreme austerity, and also make the suitable arrangement. And now, Kardama Muni, he made the beautiful aerial mansion that could fly at will. And now we are going to see the description of this aerial mansion. Text 13. Sarvakamadudham divyam sarvaratna samanvitam sarvadbhi dhir upachayodyordakam manistambair upaskritam.
It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth which tended to increase in the course of time. Purport: the castle created in the sky by Kardama Muni may be called a castle in the air. But by his mystic power of yoga, Kardama Muni actually constructed a huge castle in the air. To our feeble imagination, a castle in the air is an impossibility. But if we scrutinizingly consider the matter, we can understand that it is not impossible at all. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets, carrying millions of castles in the air, a perfect yogi like Kardama Muni can easily construct one castle in the air. The castle is described as Sarva Kama Dugam, yielding whatever one desired. It was full of jewels. Even the pillars were made of pearls and valuable stones. These valuable jewels and stones were not subject to deterioration, but were everlastingly and increasingly opulent. We sometimes hear of castles thus bedecked on the surface of this earth also. The castle constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night. Hare Krishna.
So now there is a description of the castle or the aerial mansion that was created by Kardama Muni. It was a wonderful structure with all sorts of jewels, pillars of the precious stones capable of yielding whatever one desired, Sarva Kamadrik, and also every form of furniture and wealth tended to increase in the due course of time. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that this can be really called as a castle in the air, Akasha Pushpa. Really, it is Akasha Pushpa. Generally, this word, castle in the air, Akasha Pushpa, is used in a little derogatory sense. right? That doesn't exist, which is called as castle in the air. Just like when we are taking a flight, many times you will see the formations of the clouds in such a way. Some cloud may look like the chariot, some cloud may look like car, some cloud may look like a castle, and therefore this is called as the akasha pushpa. Okay, imaginary castle, but this was the real castle. So Prabhupada says we cannot imagine this. Why? Because we are bound by the laws of material nature, and to the degree we are bound by certain particular laws, we cannot imagine the higher reality. Just like we cannot imagine somebody is working for some 1 lakh 2 lakh rupees salary. One cannot imagine an actor, he is taking 10 minutes of dance and charging 8 crore rupees for 10 minutes of a dance in a some party or something like that, because maybe 10 crores is like somebody's double of the retirement amount, and this actor is charging for just 10 minutes of dance. So one's imagination is based on one's current frame of reality, and because we are not in the current frame of reality, therefore we may say, oh, it's all imaginary. Prabhupada says no. If the Supreme Lord can construct billions of universes, which are like a castle, universe is floating where? You say the space which is contained within the boundary of the universe is called as space, right? So, but where is universe is floating, where the universe is expanding, and there are such billions of universes, ananta koti brahmandas. So Prabhupada says, if the Supreme Lord can create billions of castles like this, a devotee of the Lord, like the creator one, and how was this castle? Whatever one's desired, full of jewels it was. And the furniture and the jewel, they were not subjected to deterioration, but they were everlasting and increasingly opulent. Look at this. The furniture that we have, it needs repair from time to time. It becomes outdated after 10, 15 years, right? It becomes deteriorated, and all the wealth within the castle, it was increasing, and it was becoming opulent more and more in the due course of time. Prabhupada experienced of this when he was on the planet by constructing 16,108 palaces, which were filled with jewels so much that there were no need of the lamplight during the night. Those descriptions we will be reading in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Text 14-15. दिव्योपकरणोपेतं सर्वकालसुखावहम् पट्टिकाभिः पताकाभिर्विचित्राभिरलङ्कृतम् स्त्रग्भिर्विचित्रमाल्याभिर्मञ्जुषञ्जातषड्रग्भिः दुकुलक्षौम कौशेयैर्नावनास्त्रैर्विराजितम्.
Translation: the castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Hare Krishna.
This is now further description of the castle. Fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia. It was pleasing in all the seasons. This is how the spiritual creation, the creation by the spiritual potency of Kardama Muni. It was decorated all around. So inside we have seen, and now the castle. Now this is outside of the castle. Text 16. उपरि विनस्त्य नीलयेषु पृथक् पृथक् क्षिप्तैकशिपुवेकान्तम् पर्यङ्व्यङ्क व्यजनासनैः. Translation.
The palace looked charming, with beds, couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Purport: it is understood from this verse that a castle had many stories. The words Upaya Upari Vinashyata indicates that skyscrapers are not newly invented. Even in those days, millions of years ago, the idea of building many storied houses was current. They contained not merely one or two rooms, but many different apartments, and each was completely decorated with cushions, bedsteads, sitting places, and carpets.
So this is the palace looked very charming with the beds, couches, fans, and seats, and the entire arrangement was 7 story. So that's Antalya of Kardama Muni, right? So we have seen Mukesh Ambani's house, Antalya. It is like $4 billion. It is being constructed. That was the construction cost. And his brother is trying to construct even bigger house. That was the news is. Okay, we'll not get into brotherly rivalry. But that house is whatever, the 10-story house is there.
So your
That house
voice
is
is breaking.
Prabhuji, you are breaking a bit.
that house, the shopping mall, that house has the, the theater within, that house has the swimming tank, that house
Hare
has
Krishna, Prabhuji.
No voice, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you are breaking very badly, Prabhuji.
and which is like all in itself one. It has a helipad. He doesn't travel by car. He always travels by helicopter. And the all necessities are there within that building. It has a swimming pool. It has a swimming pools, not a pool. Okay, everybody's separate pools, gyms of everybody, and then there is a shopping mall, and then there is the theaters, and everything is there, all within itself. So Kardama Muni constructed something like this, but it was flying everywhere, defying the laws of material nature. Right. So this is the beauty. Prabhupada says this idea of building Kardama Muni's castle was 7 story, one upon another. It was placed in the Nilayeshu. Nilayeshu means it was the storied building. And how many stories? One after another, it was a 7-story building, Nilayeshu. Prabhupada says the building skyscraper is not a new phenomenon. Millions of years ago, we have seen even the palace of Swayambhu Manu, when Devotee was playing with the ball on the top of the terrace, and it was touching practically the sky, and really to the meaning of skyscraper, because that Vishwavasu, the Gandharva, who could see Devahūti from his aeroplane and fell down, looking at the beauty of Devahūti. So millions of years ago, there was this idea of building many-storied building. And one of the purport Prabhupada writes that history of the universe practically repeats for itself, right? And therefore, one should not be very enamored by the universe, although one has to perform one has to contribute one's activities, according to one's varnashrama. One has to do that very well, but one should not be very highly enamored by the material nature. These things are keep on happening again and again and again, right? Text 17. Tatra tatra vinikshapta nanashilpopashobhitam Mahamarakatastalya Jushtam Vidrum Vedivihi. Translation.
Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engraving here, and there on the walls. The floor was emerald with coral daisies. Purpose. At the present moment, people are very proud of their architectural art, yet floors are generally decorated with colored cement. It appears, however, that the castle constructed by the yogic powers of Kardama Muni had floors of emerald with coral daisies. Hare Krishna.
Further description of the castle, that it was having the floor which was emerald. And Prabhupada says that modern times people are very proud of their architectural arts, and they have constructed this and that. But when compared to the yogic powers of Kardama Muni, there is no comparison. Text 18. Dvasuhu vidrumadehalya bhatam vajrakapatavat shikhare indriyanileshu hemakumbhair adhishritam. Translation.
The palace was very beautiful, with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds, gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire.
Yeah. So the palace was very beautiful, coral thresholds, and the doors bedecked with the diamonds. And you will be really surprised to know when some of the Chinese travelers they came to India, right? Chinese traveler in the 7th century and other, those times. There are many, the diaries that they have written about their travel within India. These some of very similar descriptions are found even about India in 7th century before the Islamic invasion of India. So many similar instances are found, right? So this was the opulence of Kardama Muni. Text 19. Chakshumad padmaragaryayir vajrabhitteshu nirmitai jvishtam vichitra naivaitanair mahanair hematoranaihi. Translation.
With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Purport: artistic jewelry and decorations giving the appearance of eyes are not imaginary. Even in recent times, the Mughal emperors constructed their palaces with decorations of jeweled birds with eyes made of valuable stones. The stones have been taken away by the authorities, but the decorations are still present in some of the castles constructed by the Mughal emperors in New Delhi. The royal palaces were built with jewels and rare stones resembling eyes, and thus at night they would give off reflective light without need of lamps.
Further, there were the choicest rubies were set in the diamond walls, and that looked like the possessed it as if the walls were possessing of the eyes. And it was furnished with the wonderful canopies and the gates of gold. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this was seen even some time back, the artistic jewelry and the decorations. And there are many palaces which are built like this, especially palaces. We can see, if you can go to the Rajput palaces, Rajasthan and Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, you will not see many palaces like this because Maharashtra had a very strong duty towards, because the North somehow, they, saved the culture somehow by becoming in sync with the Mughals. And that was the strategy of the North. And we have seen that such great personalities as Jiva Goswami writing to Akbar and other things and trying to establish. Later, everything became deteriorated when Aurangzeb came. And, the attack of the Islamic invasion was very, hard, very, it hit a very hard resistance in Maharashtra, the Maratha Empire. And that's why this is a great reason why the South Indian culture was saved actually, right? So the South Indian culture was saved because to a great extent, of course, there were the great South Indian kings themselves, but the Marathas within themselves, they created that wall of resistance, and which was there. And that's why in Maharashtra you will not find many palaces like Palace of Shivaji Maharaj or Palace of Sambhaji Maharaj, or the Peshwa, Bajirao Peshwa. Those kind of palaces will not be there in Maharashtra. But there are palaces where the castles that we see, Pratapgarh, Torna, Shivneri, who were actually the backbone of saving the Indian culture. In the very recent strikes, when India was striking, Pakistan, there was this place called as Atak, and it was considered as a very strategic place, Atak. And this Atak was controlled by the Maratha army, the army of the Peshwas, just 200 years back. literally half of the Pakistan was controlled by, right? So these architectures one can see at different places. In the South India, you can see this architecture in the temples, and in the North India, you can see the architecture within the palaces. So this architecture was available. Text 20. Hamsapara brata tatrai tatra nikujitam krutriman manyamanai swan adhiruhya cha. Translation.
Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with sounds of these birds.
So not only there were multitudes of swans and the pigeons. Now the pigeons that we see, these are not the earthly pigeons, these are the celestial pigeons. Earthly pigeons are like, they are like a great nuisance. In fact, only one bird, if it is to be curtailed, so that is the pigeon, because it is the cause of various kind of diseases that they will carry them with themselves. So these are Kardama's pigeons are not these pigeons that what we see around. So there were swans, and not only there were natural swans and pigeons, there were artificial swans and pigeons. They looked so lifelike, Krutriman, right? They looked so lifelike that the natural swans also sometimes got confused whether I'm flying with another natural guy or artificial guy. This is what your robotics comes in picture, right? So Vyasa Uchishtam Jagat Sarvam. So by the time we are just, proud of the humanoids that we are making, Kardama Muni already had this, the birdoids, the bird robots within his palace. And these real birds got confused with these artificial birds. The palace was vibrated with the sound of these birds. So this is the beautiful description of the palace. Text 21. Viharasthana Vishrama Samvesha Pranananjirair Yathopajosham Rachitair Vishvapamam in Ivatmanah. Translation.
Translation.
Go ahead, Tataji.
The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Purport: Kardama Muni, being a saintly person, was living in a humble hermitage, but when he saw the palace constructed by his yogic powers, which was full of resting rooms, rooms for sensual enjoyment, and inner and outer yards, he himself was astonished. That is the way of a God-gifted person. A devotee like Kardama Muni exhibited such opulence by his yogic power at the request of his wife, but when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestations could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished. Hare Krishna.
So the castle had pleasure grounds. Okay, there were gardens around, the resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye of comfort. So that was this luxurious, comfortable castle. And all this caused astonishment even to sage Kardama. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Kardama Muni was previously living in a same simple hermitage. And suddenly, when he saw the castle was constructed through the yogic power, he himself was astonished. What this means is the construction of the castle did not involve Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni was not micromanaging the castle construction. That, this will come here, toilet should be here, and the bedroom should be here. No, the castle just got manifested. And it had so much opulence that even Kardama himself was surprised to look at the opulence, the castle that being produced. What it means is, devotee of the Lord, when he's performing devotional service, the result of devotional service will be mind-blowing even to the devotee. Right? We are performing devotional service, but the result of devotional service, Prabhupada says that, that there is a very beautiful description of one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. on the verge of his death, he uttered these words. He said that I can see Radharani coming with, the beautiful golden chariot. And then his precise words were, you cannot even begin to imagine what lies on the other side of the reality when you complete your devotional service in this life. Right? You cannot even begin to imagine what lies on other side of devotional service. And this is the faith of the devotee. And later, time to time, Bhagavatam will be describing this. You will not even begin to imagine. And this was the same case with Kardama Muni, that he was unable to imagine this palace, and he himself was wonderstruck. It was not that, he construct. Sometimes we may book a house and we want to give surprise to wife, but this was not like that. Even he was surprised when he was taking a tour of the palace, this castle. Even he was surprised. Are Babre, from Hermitage, where did Kardama I have landed to? Text 22. Idrakdrakam tat pashyanti nati pritena chetasa sarvabhutashayam vidnya provacha Kardamasvayam. Translation.
When he saw Devahūti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus, he personally addressed his wife as follows. Purport. Devahūti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt, and her clothing was not very nice. Kardama Muni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly, his wife Devahūti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardama Muni could understand her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows.
Yeah. So while Kardama and Devahūti, both of them, looked at the palace with great astonishment, Kardama could detect the dissatisfaction within the heart of Devahūti. Nati pritena chetasa sarva bhutashaya bhigyaha. And here it is a powerful words. He could understand the heart of anyone. Sarva bhutashaya bhigyaha provacha Kardamasvayam. And Kardama smiled and began to speak. So Devotee was thinking that with the tattered clothes that she has and the kind of a skinny body that she has, and now she is, uh, in front of this gigantic palace, you need match also, right? So this, and then she was just thinking how to relish the palace, how to even take advantage of the comforts. And Kardama could understand her mind, and thus he began to speak. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.